Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is Troy, your host. We are live and recording.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and call to order our December 9th, 2025 Board of County Commissioners Land Use Meeting and Public Hearing. If you'll all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Attorney Garcia, do we have certification of the agenda today?
Yes, sir. The county attorney's office has reviewed all items on the agenda, and appropriate posting has been made where necessary, and you have jurisdiction over these matters.
Okay, thank you. And do any commissioners have disclosures for items on this agenda?
No, sir.
No.
Okay, and I don't have any either. With that, we'll move on to item 2, which is our land use meeting agenda items. We have no items under land use today, so we'll move right to our public hearing agenda items. Item 3A is the Range Metropolitan Districts number 1 through 3 Service Plan First Amendment, Project File SV 2025-007. DJ Beckwith, Principal Planner, presenting for staff. Hi, DJ.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. The project before you is a Service Plan First Amendment for the Range Metropolitan Districts numbers 1 through 3. The project number is SV 2025-007. I'm DJ Beckwith, representing Planning Resources. The applicant representative is Megan Murphy. The application is a request for the approval of the First Amendment for the Range Metropolitan Districts numbers 1 through 3 for the purposes of changing the source of water from the districts from a central well to water provided by Dominion Water and Sanitation District, and to increase the number of lots served by the districts to 550 lots. The proposed amendment also identifies the district's ability to form special improvement districts as allowed by Colorado Revised Statute Title 32. The Board of County Commissioners created and adopted guidelines for the processing and reviewing of special district service plans applications in compliance with Title 32. Applications are sent to referral agencies for comment and review. All comments are provided to the applicant so that they have an opportunity to address outstanding issues. Applications are heard by the Planning Commission and then the Board of County Commissioners at public hearings. At a public meeting on October 20th of 2025, the Planning Commission recommended approval of the Service Plan Amendment by a vote of 7-1. Planning Commission members asked about the criteria used to determine if the amendment is substantially compliant with the Comprehensive Master Plan and the electoral makeup of the districts. Commissioner Hampton dissented but did not provide further explanation for his vote. No public comment was provided at the meeting. The districts are located in the Leviers rural community of the 2040 Comprehensive Master Plan, marked by the red star on this slide. The districts outlined in red on this slide are zoned plan development. They are located east of Highway 85 and west of North Daniels Park Road. The district service plan was originally approved in 2023. Districts provide service to approximately 400 acres. The amendment increases the district's anticipated residential lots to be served from 318 to 550. The proposed amendment changes the district's water supply from a central well system to water provided by Dominion Water and Sanitation District, allowing for an increase in the number of lots served by the district as allowed in the range plan development. The amendment follows the intergovernmental agreement between the range and Dominion that was signed in May of 2025. The IGA also references off-site infrastructure that is intended to benefit the region. The amendment does not propose any financial changes from the original service plan approved in 2023. The project was sent out on referral from August 6th to August 20th of 2025. Most responses for referral had no comment on the proposed amendment. Douglas County staff reviewed the proposed amendment and had no comments on the amendment. Chatfield Community Association provided a comment letter addressing Dominion's ability to provide water and wastewater services to the Range PD. The applicant responded to Chatfield's comments in a letter. This letter is attached to your staff report and has been provided to Chatfield. The Colorado Revised Statutes specify criteria for approval of special district service plans. The board must consider the following 9 criteria in evaluating the service plan. In response to number 1, the area encompassed by the district's boundaries is zoned planned development, and services are currently being provided by the districts. In response to number 2, at the time the original service plan was approved, services for the proposed development were inadequate. The area is currently served by the districts. The amendment indicates that the districts will continue to provide water and wastewater infrastructure, but will receive wholesale water services from Dominion. Number 3, the amendment does not propose any financial changes. At the time the original service plan was approved, the service plan demonstrated the districts could provide services economically. Number 4, the amendment does not propose any financial changes. At the time the original service plan was approved, the service plan demonstrated the district's revenues would be sufficient to discharge the proposed indebtedness. In response to number 5, at the time the original service plan was approved, South Metro Fire Rescue District, Dominion Water and Sanitation District, and Douglas County were unable to provide all necessary services. The districts and these entities will continue to provide services for the area encompassed by the districts. Number 6, all facilities will continue to be constructed in accordance with the standards of the county and any other applicable local, state, or federal rules and regulations. In response to number 7, at the time the original service plan was approved, the districts were found to be in compliance with the 2040 Comprehensive Master Plan. Policies specific to the Leviers rural community encourage the use of central water and sewer services as available. As proposed in the original service plan, the districts will construct water and wastewater infrastructure. The amendment identifies the district's water will be provided by Dominion, meeting the objective policy 4-2 F.1 for the Leviers rural community under the Comprehensive Master Plan. Goal 5-3 of the 2040 Comprehensive Master Plan promotes the sustainability of special districts. The amendment works to ensure that the district's activities and operations are consistent with their service plan, which aligns with the objective policy 5-3 B.1 of the Comprehensive Master Plan. In response to number 8, based on information provided by the applicant in the original service plan, the districts are in compliance with the Colorado Water Quality Management Plan. Number 9, at the time the original service plan was approved, the property required services from either an adjacent municipality, adjoining special district, or a new district, and the new districts were formed. The districts will continue to provide services to the development. Should the board find that the application complies with the criteria found at Colorado Revised Statute Title 32, the board may approve. This concludes my presentation. The applicant representative, Megan Murphy, is here as well to present and answer any additional questions.
Great, DJ. Thank you for that presentation. Any questions for staff?
No questions.
No. Okay. You always do such a great job. I noticed that the referral comments were on page 247 out of a almost 1,000-page packet. If we can get the referral comments up a little higher, I think that'd be helpful for us to find, so we're not doing the hunt and peck thing. But the rest of the presentation was just fantastic, so thank you for that. At this time, we'll ask the applicant to come up if you want to just state your name and where you're from for the record.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Megan Murphy, WBAPC 2154 East Commons Avenue, Suite 2000, Centennial 80122 on behalf of the applicant. Good afternoon. I know we've been here before to process this relatively simple amendment, which brings the terms of the service plan in compliance with the terms of the plan development for the project. So it's not so much an increase in the unit count as it is making the service plan match the previously approved plan development, along with bringing this water source in compliance with the terms of the IGA. We do have Andrea Cole from Dominion Water here to provide a detailed presentation on how water will be brought to the site. If you're interested in seeing that presentation, I'm sure she'd be happy to provide it to you, but I wanted to first give you a chance to ask me any questions about the service plan.
Great, thank you for that. Any questions for the applicant about the service plan? Okay, if you want to call up your professionals, that's fine.
Ms. Cole?
Thank you, Commissioners. It's a pleasure to be here in front of you today. As always, appreciate your service to Douglas County. Also want to thank county staff for their due diligence on this particular project. My name is Andrea Cole, C-O-L-E, General Manager of Dominion Water and Sanitation District. We are located at 9250 East Costilla Avenue, Suite 400, and that's in Greenwood Village. And I actually did it right this time. So just as a refresher, I know you all are very familiar with Dominion and who we are, but Dominion Water and Sanitation District, we are a wholesale water and wastewater provider located in Northwest Douglas County. So we are bounded on the north by Chatfield Reservoir, follow down south to Wildcat Mountain, extend to the east to Sedalia, and then follow the Highway 85 corridor back up. We were formed in 2004 primarily to serve the master plan community of Sterling Ranch, which is located right here in the orange, but also to help those surrounding existing communities that are on non-reliable groundwater and non-sustainable wastewater treatment solutions. And this was part of the county's vision and plan to bring renewable and reliable centralized wastewater treatment to this region of the county. I'd also like to point out, thank you, that we are the first and only established district in Douglas County and met all the requirements per 18A. And right here in the black, it's kind of hard to see on the figure. This is where the range is located. So it's well within the Dominion service area. It's what we call our extended service area. So the areas in orange are referred to as our primary service area, i.e. those areas that we are committed to serve by contract or other mechanism like our service agreement with Douglas County. And then the blue area represents our extended service area as an overlay district. We can provide service to folks that are within that area, but we don't have to, nor do individuals within that area have to get service from Dominion. And this is just an explanation or a view, if you will, of the wholesale facilities that Dominion owns. And I don't intend to go over all of this, as many of you are well aware of the facilities that Dominion has. But we do have the Eastern Regional Pipeline that allows us to bring in renewable water supplies as part of WISE, which is the Aurora Denver Water Project, bringing water from Brighton down through Douglas County. We also have some tanks, high zone, low zone tank, on the water side, and then on the wastewater side, we have a few lift stations, and then the force main that currently connects to the Roxborough lift station and force main that takes our wastewater to South Platte Renew. We are in the process of constructing the new Chatfield Basin Water Reclamation Facility, which was the former Roxborough wastewater treatment plant located right here in that really faint yellow line there. And so this is really a tale of collaboration with Douglas County, Dominion, and the range. And so this took a lot of time to come forward and bring the right solution. And I applaud the commissioners in having the fortitude to bring us all together and work towards the right solution. And so really what allowed this to happen was that Douglas County was able to provide some ARPA funding of $20 million to Dominion for the Chatfield Basin Water Reclamation Facility. And this allowed us to accelerate that very key capital project on our CIP that would assure us to have water supply availability, not only for our existing commitments, but for the community of the range. In addition, as we all, unfortunately, prices keep going up, they don't go down. The plant is going to cost well over $20 million. So Dominion will come out of pocket approximately $17 million in order to build the full facility. And then we'll also design and construct the wholesale facilities that will connect the range. In addition, then the range, as being part of this collaborative effort, is paying for those offsite improvements to not only include for their community, but also for the community of Leviers. And so then what are the offsite improvements? So wastewater offsite improvements include the lift station that will be constructed near the existing sanitary sewer lagoon that's located in or just adjacent to the community of Leviers. And they will be building this red line here to connect over to the range. And then in addition, they'll be paying for and building this green line that then connects into the Sterling Ranch Community Authority Board's existing gravity lines to convey that wastewater to our existing lift station at Titan Road. That will then go through the Titan Road force main all the way to the future Chatfield Basin Water Reclamation Facility. And then just a little bit about Chatfield Basin Water Reclamation Facility. We're pretty proud of this. It's moving. And so this is a rendering of what the site is going to look like. So this is the aeration basin. Currently, they're out there tearing down the superstructure or the above ground facility for the aeration basin. So if you went out there today, you wouldn't see a roof anymore. And they're working on the CMU block, the sidewalls, step by step. The plant was built in the 70s, so there's asbestos. So they have to take their time and make sure that it's fully contained as they continue to take down that part of the facility. In addition, we're working on making this an interim flow equalization basin per request by Roxborough. So they're in the process of working on this, the old digester building. And then we're also in shop drawings and construction of the membranes. Those are built off-site and then hauled onto the site. They'll be housed in this new building. And then electrical. So those are the long lead items that help get this plant available and online by 2027 for operations. And then just a little bit about water. Again, the wholesale facilities will include this connection here at Sterling Ranch. So it connects into the Sterling Ranch Community Authority Board. There's already a stub out here at the site. And then the line will traverse down through Waterton Road. There will be a line that comes across here in a master meter vault that will be near the Laviere's water tank for future service. And then the line continues over to the range, and there will be another master meter vault located at this site that will take service into the range community. I don't have anything else, so I thank you for your time and patience, and we'll stand for any questions.
Great. Thank you so much, Andrea. Any questions for Dominion Water and Sand or the applicant?
No questions.
Yeah, I don't have any questions, but for years we have asked all of the stakeholders to get together, and regional leadership starts with collaboration, and you have done that so well. So high compliments to really all the parties for getting together around a table and hammering out an agreement that I think makes sense for everybody in the county. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Absolutely. So with that, I'm going to open it up for any citizen comment. Is there any citizen comment with regard to this item 3A? You can come on up, sir. And we're not taking questions right now, but if you want to comment, you can. So, sir, the folks online can't hear you, so you got to come up to the microphone and let us know who you are. Welcome. And if you want to just state your name and where you're from for the record, please.
Gary Addington in Laviere's. What is going to happen to our lagoon when this building thing is built next to it?
Okay, thank you, sir. Any additional citizen comment? Okay, any citizen comment online?
Thank you, Commissioner. I have no online comment.
Okay, thank you, Troy. So with that, I'll close citizen comment and invite the applicant to respond to citizen comment.
Thank you, Commissioners. Andrea Cole again, General Manager of Dominion. The plan is to connect the community of Lavier, so the pond will be decommissioned. We're still in the preliminary design phases of that, and so I'm not 100% sure what that's going to look like. It may just be capped. It kind of depends on what's in there, on what we're going to do with that. So.
Okay, thank you. So with that, I'll bring it back to the board for any further discussion and or a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I do believe it does make sense. Non-renewable well water presents several issues, and moving these homes to the Dominion Water District for renewable water resource access and also fiscally, a more fiscally sound model, I think is altogether fitting. So therefore, and I believe it fits the approval criteria that is seen up on the screen. I don't know if we need to go through it one by one, but we could. I will simply just move to approve Range Metropolitan District's numbers 1 through 3 service plan First Amendment because it does meet the approved criteria displayed on the screen. This is project file SV 2025-007, again from the Range Metropolitan District service plan.
Thank you, Commissioner. Do we have a second?
One of the things that I've said in the 10 years of elected service at the local level is that our development partners need to be good neighbors. I mean, they may be coming in to build new neighborhoods, but they themselves need to be good neighbors. Very early in the process with the Range, the development partner was planning on doing something to help out the folks in Laviers. And I think it was pointed out very well by the executive director of Dominion Water how that fits in. That fits into helping solve some of the very pressing problems that the town of Laviers was seeing with their water sources. I'm really happy we were able to kind of get around that table and work that out. It was, I assure you, it went swimmingly from the very first. It was a piece of cake, wasn't it, Andrea? Yeah. But I'm glad we were able to work that out. I'm glad we were able to work it out, not only for the plans that the applicant has to build the Range neighborhood, but also for the betterment of the people of the town of Laviers. And quite frankly, I think we even saw some good benefits coming to the folks in Sterling Ranch with Dominion Water and Sanitation. So I'm happy to second.
Great. So we do have a first and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Yeah, I mean, I think in elected leadership you have highlights that stand out to you, and this is unrelated but related. Obviously we've been working on these ARPA funds and the dedication to improve water and wastewater along this corridor, and being able to walk along the streets of Laviers with a glass of water, clean water in Laviers, was just tremendous. It was amazing to be with citizens and to drink that whole glass of water, feeling confident that it was clean and free of contaminants. But obviously, one small piece of many pieces that are coming together because of the great regional leadership. So thank you for that. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that carries unanimously. Congratulations. With that, we're going to move on to item 3B, which is the Sterling Ranch Plan Development 14th Amendment Plan Development Major Amendment, project file ZR 2025-012. Brett Thomas, Chief Planner, presenting for staff. Hi, Brett.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Brett Thomas representing Planning Services. Request is a major plan development amendment for Sterling Ranch Plan Development, project number ZR 2025-012. The applicant representative, Susan Beckman, is present on behalf of the Sterling Ranch Development Company. The applicant requests approval of a major amendment to the Sterling Ranch PD to amend portions of the boundaries of the D1, D2, and D3 planning areas and expand the C1 character zone buffer south of Braley Acres. The intent of the major PD amendment process is to encourage innovative and creative design and to facilitate a mix of use in the development of a balanced community, including residential, business, commercial, recreational, open, and other selected secondary uses in accordance with Section 2467-101 of Colorado Revised Statutes. Major amendment process begins with the submittal of an application. Following a review period by referral agencies and the public, notice is given for public hearings before the Planning Commission and Board of County Commissioners. No comments were received from residents through the review process. Public Works Engineering noted it is working with the applicant to revise the master traffic impact study and has no comments on the PD application. The Planning Commission heard the application at its December 1st public hearing. The Planning Commission asked the applicant about the current build out of the PD. 2 members of the public spoke. Testimony included comments on density, traffic, and opportunities for 4-H facilities. Planning Commission voted 9-0 to recommend approval of the request. As background, the Sterling Ranch PD was approved by the board in July of 2013. This is the 14th Amendment to the original PD document. Sterling Ranch PD, indicated by the red star, is generally located in the northwest portion of the county. Sterling Ranch PD is located in the Chatfield urban area as designated in the 2040 Douglas County Comprehensive Master Plan. Sterling Ranch PD, outlined in red, is generally west of the intersection of Highway 85, Titan Road, more specifically west of Moore Road, south of Chatfield State Park, east of Rampart Range Road, and north of agriculturally zoned land in the Chatfield Valley. The areas of the proposed amendment are highlighted with red hatching. This is an aerial of the Sterling Ranch PD, again outlined in red. The areas of the proposed amendment are again outlined with red hatching. This slide depicts the proposed red lines to the PD map. Please note the blue highlights and callouts are not relevant to this application. They were depicted on the exhibit to reflect changes proposed with the 13th Amendment, which had not been approved by the board prior to preparation of this exhibit. Portions of the D2 planning area along the north side of Titan Road are proposed to be converted to the D3 planning area, while portions of D3 along the south side of Titan Road are proposed to be converted to D2. The D1 planning area southwest of the intersection of Titan Road and Roxborough Park Road is proposed to be converted to the D2 planning area. The character zone buffer that exists around this parcel, Special Character Zone C, remains unchanged. Portions of the D1 planning area south of Waterton Road are proposed to be converted to the D2 planning area, and the existing D1 planning area that surrounds Plum Valley Heights subdivision would also remain unchanged. The approval criteria for a major amendment request are set forth in section 15 and listed on this slide. The approval criteria are discussed on pages 3 and 4 of the staff report. Staff has evaluated the major PD amendment request in accordance with section 15 of the zoning resolution. Should the board find that the approval criteria have been met, staff proposes the following conditions be considered for inclusion in its motion. Condition number 1, prior to recordation, all minor technical corrections will be made to the plan development document to the satisfaction of Douglas County. And condition 2, all commitments and promises made by the applicant or the applicant's representative during the public hearing and or agreed to in writing and included in the public record have been relied upon by the Board of County Commissioners in approving the application. Therefore, such approval is conditioned upon the applicant's full satisfaction of all such commitments and promises. Section 1522.08 of the zoning resolution sets forth the parameters for the board's determination on the amendment request, as noted on this slide. This concludes staff's presentation. I'm available to take questions on the staff report this time. Otherwise, Susan Beckman is here on behalf of the Sterling Ranch Development Company.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Brett. Any questions for staff?
No questions.
Okay, I'm going to withhold my questions for now and invite the applicant up to present.
Good afternoon. I'm Susan Beckman, B-E-C-K-M-A-N. I'm the Zoning and Rezoning Director of Sterling Ranch Development Company, 8155 Piney River Avenue, Suite 200, Sterling Ranch, Colorado. Thank you, Commissioner Layton and Commissioner Teal and Commissioner Van Winkle for your time this afternoon and for your commitment to Douglas County and for your consideration of the request of the 14th Amendment of the Sterling Ranch PD. I also want to thank the Douglas County Planning staff, Public Works, and Engineering staff for your professionalism and hard work on this project. I'm joined today here in the audience is Kevin Jonk, Sterling Ranch Entitlement and Engineering Director, Curtis Davidson, Landscape Architect from PCS, and Brock Smethels, President of Sterling Ranch Development, was not able to make this meeting today, but I'm sure he's listening in. As you know, this has been a year of PD cleanups for Sterling Ranch. Many of these amendments have been minor technical amendments. A few weeks ago, you heard the 13th Amendment regarding school site dedications. That one was a bit more substantial. That meeting was a little bit dicey. But I'm happy to report since that time that there have been many fruitful meetings with Sterling Ranch leadership and the school district, and I think you can expect great schools to multiply the landscape of Sterling Ranch in the future. Along with the PD cleanup in 2025, it's been a very good year for Sterling Ranch. We started out the year with the unanimous support for the Planning Commission for a comprehensive master plan amendment, bringing the Waterton Business Park into the Chatfield urban area, aligning that area, Waterton Business Park, with our community. And last Monday, with 11 Planning Commissioner members present, we had unanimous support for the 14th Amendment. So on to the 14th Amendment. The proposed PD amendment is consistent with development standards, commitments, and overall intent of the PD. The amendment does not aim to increase the total number of dwelling units. Instead, it aims to provide more flexibility in how the units are distributed across the existing planned development in Sterling Ranch. The main goal is to allow for development in these areas to match the styles of our existing village neighborhoods that are already built or planned out. Those neighborhoods include a mix of small and large single-family detached homes, as well as multifamily and attached units, including duplexes, paired homes, and townhomes. So this map is a little bit complicated, but I'll walk through it. It converts D1 planning areas to D2 planning areas to continue developing the property in a fashion like the current neighborhoods that we have in Sterling Ranch. So that is the neighborhoods that are south of, the area that is south of Waterton Road. We would like to convert this area to D2 to match our other villages to the north. We have a substantial buffer around Plum Valley Heights that will remain. There's a lot of open space and a wildlife corridor in that area, but we'd like to move that from D1 to D2. Both D1 and D2 allow for commercial and retail amenities, and this will just allow us to build a little denser neighborhoods. Converts D1 planning area into D2 planning areas to allow dwelling units to be spread more evenly across the development area in single-family detached and single-family attached lots. Up north, that's the Rush property. I know that many of you took tours of the Rush property. It was really a problematic, blighted piece of property. It had a lot of code enforcement issues. The fire and police department and human services was out there often. The fire department is now using that for training, but we're going to bring that into our neighborhoods in Sterling Ranch, and we would request that that become D2. We'd like to expand the open space buffer to the south of Brawley Acres. There's also a buffer to the west, but that's a significant buffer. Modify the D3 and SA1 planning areas to be in concert with current planning efforts. This change can actually happen within the PD language, but we wanted to show. Up here, we'd like to move that from D2 to D3. And down south of Titan, we would like to take the D3, which is our town center designation, and move that to D2, which is more in line with what we currently have going on in Sterling Ranch in our neighborhoods. There's no increase in the total number of dwelling units that are currently allowed. It just requests adjustments in the planning areas so that we don't have to build intense multifamily units, that we can build neighborhoods and still reach our 12,050 unit density. In your packet, you have a recent Fox Tuttle traffic memo that states no change to the overall development intensity or land use assumptions since the original MTIS study was completed. The proposed roadway networks and intersection configurations remain unchanged. And your referral comment from the Douglas County Public Works and Engineering states that they are working with Sterling Ranch to revise the master transportation impact study for the entire Sterling Ranch development, and they have no comment on the 14th PD amendment. As the staff report reflects, there are no other referral agencies that responded with objection, and there are no community objections in your packet that we received in our packet. As you know, I'm a big one on going through each and every one of the approval criteria. I think that's important to do. Sterling Ranch likes to bring these PD amendments forward with meeting and exceeding all the approval criteria. 152001, whether the amendment is consistent with development standards, commitments, and overall intent of the planned development. The proposed PD amendment is consistent with the development standards, commitments, and overall intent of the PD. As noted, the amendment does not seek to increase the dwelling units for which the property is zoned, but rather seeks to increase flexibility, which we need at this time in development. 152002, whether the amendment is consistent with the intent, efficient development, and preservation of the entire development. The primary intent is to allow within these areas development that is similar to the Sterling Ranch current villages and neighborhoods. 152003, whether the amendment will adversely affect the public interest or enjoyment of the adjacent land. The primary area proposed for conversion from planning area D1 and D2 sits in the interior of the development, south of Waterton Road, which will help mitigate adverse effects of the enjoyment of land or public interest for the abutting adjacent areas. The remaining D1 planning areas encompassing lower density residential neighborhoods, including Plum Valley Heights, Brawley Acres, and Plum Creek Estates, remain in place with this amendment. As we do not take away any open space, there's still open space buffers and special character zones that were created to establish buffers for these communities from our development of Sterling Ranch neighborhoods. Whether the sole purpose of the amendment is to confer a special benefit, the purpose of the amendment is not to confer a special benefit. 152005, for applications proposing an increase in density, which we are not, we would have to have some, we would have to have a submittal in our application documents for water, but water will continue to be available through Dominion Water and Sanitation District. 152006, whether the public facilities and services necessary to accommodate the proposed development will be available concurrently. There will be no change in public facilities or services associated with this request. And finally, whether roadway capacity necessary to maintain the roadway level of service for development will be available. Since there are no changes in the overall development density, the proposed roadway network and intersection configurations will remain the same as documented in the Fox Tuttle report and supported by the engineering department of Douglas County. I do want to go back on and look at this map again because one of the things that we're doing to clean the area up, because we've had so much change, is there was going to be a sports center. You know, Sterling Ranch always was going to have a sports complex. But now that sports complex has moved to the Waterton Business Park, and we don't need two Zebulons. And so we're changing that up with a mix of D1 and D2 to fill out our community. And the school site is moved up a little bit to the north. And that concludes my presentation. We would like to ask Chairman Layton and Commissioners for your support of the 14th Amendment. We appreciate your time this afternoon. We do accept the two conditions in the staff report.
Okay, thank you for accepting those and appreciate your presentation, Susan. Any questions for the applicant?
No questions.
None from me, very thorough. Thank you.
Yeah, I have reviewed the packet, and I believe all the approval criteria have been met, but I will open it up for any citizen comment with regard to this item. Is there any citizen comment on this item? Yes, sir. Welcome, and if you just want to state your name and where you're from for the record. Yep, you can approach. If you want to give that to the county attorney, he'll label it as an exhibit for us.
Thank you.
Got it, okay. Just received word from council, this will be labeled as Exhibit A for the record. Sir, you can proceed with your testimony.
My name is Doug Chestnut, Chestnutt. I live in the Chatfield Basin. What I handed you kind of goes in and gives you a little more perspective from the other side, kind of the Paul Harvey rest of the story. I don't believe that this meets the requirements. It's just rearranging things. They're putting more density where there was less density. Same amount of dwelling units, but they're going to be more multifamily than single family, which changes things up. It also changes up their commitments to school districts. They pay half of what they would pay for a single family home versus a multifamily home. And I didn't have time to check, but I think even if you look at what they pay toward infrastructure costs, which that's never done correctly, they may not pay anything toward multifamily versus single family. And it will affect Braley Acres, Tyndall Acres, Plum Creek Estates, Sunshine Acres, Savoy, the Cara Equine Clinic, and all the rural stuff there. So it is a big issue and a big problem there. One of the things is interesting, on page 2 that I gave you, I kind of yellow highlighted that. That was rural, and it's still zoned ag. And then they put it as a D1, now they're changing it to D2. Well, I'm sure they're going to turn that into probably a, convenience store or something. But it is not, it's affecting the rural community right next to them. And I think that's a huge issue, and I listed out in more detail everything I have there so I don't miss anything. Please look at that, and I please ask you respectfully to deny this application. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chestnut. Any additional citizen comment? Any other citizen comment? I'm going to go online. Any citizen comment online?
Thank you, sir. No online comment.
Okay, thank you, Troy. So with that, I'll close citizen comment and invite the applicant back up to respond to citizen comment.
Thank you, Chairman Layden. Our intent is not to build more multifamily. We will have apartments in Sterling Ranch. What we're trying to do is to lessen the impact of multifamily. We have had some pushback from our community. And instead of pushing that density with higher development, higher density, we would like to build more neighborhoods. We celebrate home ownership in Sterling Ranch. As far as the school fee goes, we pay $1,500, a voluntary fee that not all developers pay. For every single family home in Sterling Ranch, we pay $750 for every unit in an apartment complex, or $750 for a townhome, or $750 for a paired home. And yeah, I think that's it. We really are excited about this opportunity to level out the density and to have better transition of neighborhoods with moving these D2 and D3. Honestly, in some of the areas, D3 is much more dense than D2. We're lowering that density in some areas, and in some areas, we're just allowing for more development like Providence or Ascent, those neighborhoods that are currently existing in Sterling Ranch.
Great.
So I would like, again, I think we do meet all the approval criteria, and I was asked for your support.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Beckman. And again, just for the record, can you identify the net change in density based on this application?
There is no net change in density that we are requesting today.
Thank you very much. So with that, I'm going to bring it back to the board for any further discussion and or a motion.
It just seems to me like, I think this is what, going through it, seems like this is what has been described all along. I mean, we are shuffling borders to facilitate the planning of this development partner. And so quite frankly, I don't understand why we wouldn't approve this. Chair, before a motion is made, and I apologize, did we secure the agreement to conditions as presented from the applicant?
Yes, Commissioner, we did.
All right, I must have been sleeping.
Well, it's because Ms. Beckman volunteered that, so we got that early on.
Excellent. In that case, please, the board, I do have a motion to approve Sterling Ranch Plan Development, 14th Amendment, Plan Development Major Amendment, because it does meet all the approval criteria with the two conditions as presented. Project file ZR 2025-012.
My second motion.
Great, so we have a first and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that motion carries unanimously. With that, we're going to move on to our next item before us in public hearing, which is item 3C, Owens Industrial Park Filing 1, First Amendment, Lot 1A, and meets and bounds. Third Amendment, use by special review, supplemental hearing, project file US 2021-002. We have Heather Scott presenting for staff. I'm going to have Heather do her presentation, and then I'm going to ask council to define the scope of review on remand for the Board of County Commissioners. Hi, Heather.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Heather Scott, Planning Services. The request is for the Board of County Commissioners to consider supplemental information related to project file US 2021-002. Jessica Eliza Day is here on behalf of the applicant Brannan Gravel and Sand Company. As a reminder, the USR is for a proposed asphalt batch plant on a 44.95 acre site, which is generally located west of the intersection of Airport Road and US Highway 85. The board approved the Owens Industrial Center use by special review in August 2024. The board decision was appealed by neighboring property owners. On September 4th, 2025, the court issued a ruling which vacated the county's approval of the USR based on two specific issues: the wildfire hazard assessment and fencing heights within the required street setback. On October 14th, the court amended its ruling to remand this matter back to the Board of County Commissioners for further proceedings. The supplemental information under consideration today is on the slide. The county forester performed a wildfire hazard assessment in accordance with the Wildfire Hazard Overlay District. The forester found no significant wildfire risk for the site and indicated that no further mitigation is required. Additionally, the applicant agreed to a condition of approval to establish a 4-foot tall fence within the 40-foot setback from Airport Road. This slide shows two streets within the approved USR plan exhibit. The berm and continuous landscape hedge is provided along Airport Road. These elements continue to screen outdoor storage areas in accordance with the county's adopted regulations. This slide references two USR approval standards which were assessed in the supplemental information provided. The provision of the updated wildfire hazard assessment and reduced fencing height within the front setback meet approval standard 2102.01. With regard to 2102.10, the reduced fence height does not impact compliance with this approval standard. The previously approved landscape plan adjacent to Airport Road provided a required 6-foot tall visual barrier or hedge to screen outdoor material storage areas. No other changes to the USR site plan or management plan are proposed. All other USR approval standards were previously assessed and deemed to have been met. Staff has evaluated the supplemental USR information in accordance with Section 21 of the zoning resolution. Should the Board of County Commissioners find that the approval standards relative to the supplemental information are met, staff proposes the following conditions be included in the motion. Condition number 1, all proposed fences affected by US 2021-002 within the 40-foot setback from Airport Road right-of-way shall be reduced from 6 feet to 4 feet and shall otherwise comply with the DCZR Section 141601. Condition number 2. Prior to final approval of the record copy of the USR Plan Exhibit, any necessary technical corrections shall be made to the satisfaction of Douglas County. And condition number 3, all commitments and promises made by the applicant or the applicant's representative during the public hearing and/or agreed into in writing and included in the public record have been relied upon by the Board of County Commissioners in approving the application. Therefore, such approval is conditioned upon the applicant's full satisfaction of all such commitments and promises. This concludes staff's presentation. Jessica Eliza Day, legal representative for the applicant, now has a presentation. And as Jessica prepares for her presentation, I have Brennan's independent wildfire risk determination report and objection letters received since Friday afternoon. I will give those to the county attorney at this time.
Okay, thank you, Heather. And as you do that, if council would like to just reiterate the scope of review for the Board of County Commissioners and why we're on remand.
Well, I'll start off by saying Heather did a wonderful job. As a matter of procedure, the county does enter into the record the record from all previous hearings on this matter. In addition, would like to read from the October 14th remand and vacation order from the court. It states that on September 4th, 2025, an order was issued that the court determined that the majority of the board's challenged findings and conclusions were consistent with 106. But it did abuse its standards regarding the wildfire safety regulations and setback fencing regulations. Finding that they were satisfied, the court has vacated the board's approval on that use, and then gives the direction. The court expected further application review because the court determined that the board abused its discretion, did not abuse its discretion on most of the applicant's components, and to promote efficiency is asking for that the wildfire and the fencing issue will be looked at. So that is what it's been remanded to.
Okay. So limiting the scope of review to the wildfire issue and the fencing, and I think that's important to remind everyone that has joined us today. We do have 7 people that have signed up for comment. When you do comment, we're going to ask that you limit your comments to the scope of review, which again is the wildfire issue and the fencing. With that, we'll invite up.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner.
I do have a question. Mr. Garcia, I previous to becoming a county commissioner, did speak on a matter related to this regarding the Brandon Asphalt Company. I did not speak at any point to the 2 matters before us today, the wildfire plan nor the fencing. Does that put me in any precarious situation?
Do you feel you'll be unbiased and be able to review the facts before you today, sir?
Yes.
And do you have any financial interest in the outcome of this today?
No.
Any family member have a financial interest in the outcome of this today?
No.
Do you have any information that's been provided to you that otherwise hasn't been provided to the remainder of the board?
No.
Do you believe that you'll be able to? I've already asked that? No. You have no problem, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. So with that, we'll invite the applicant counsel to present. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Jessica Elizade on behalf of the applicant, Brandon Companies. The last time I was here before you on August 13th of 2024, I ask your forgiveness in advance because we provided you with a very detailed presentation that day, and it was a long day. At the conclusion of which this body approved the application based on the evidence and testimony presented, finding that the application met all of the approval criteria under Section 2102. So it's ironic that we're back here today because the district court vacated that approval and remanded it back to you for additional fact finding, but fortunately on only a couple of issues. After your approval, project opponents filed suit with the Douglas County District Court on 7 issues: wildfire hazard assessment, fencing, traffic, screening, 2 water issues, and post-approval USR amendments. On September 4th, the court found, and I quote, as Attorney Garcia did, the majority of the board's challenge findings and conclusions were within its jurisdiction, or were within its discretion. I'm sorry. But nonetheless vacated the approval based on the lack of evidence on the issue of wildfire hazard assessment and fencing. So because it was vacated, we have to think of the last hearing as if everything but the final vote happened. And so essentially, we just pressed pause between then and now. So then on October 14th, the court remanded this issue back to you for further findings and made it very clear for findings on these two remaining issues. I always have trouble with this thing. I think I don't press hard enough. Yeah. You have to be smarter than the remote. I'm pretty sure I said this the last time. I apologize. Okay. All right. So after you've heard all of the evidence on these issues, you are considering the proposal based on all of the evidence and testimony presented at the August 13, 2024 hearing, together with today's evidence and testimony. And you must find that it collectively, that evidence and today's evidence meet the USR approval criteria shown here, such as 0.01, under which the two issues today fall. Those are general conformance issues and zoning issues, and that's where the both the fencing and the wildfire assessment would fall. So here we are, based on the court's direction. My presentation will be focused solely on the issues of wildfire hazard assessment and fencing. During our last hearing, Brandon demonstrated tremendous support for the project. Out of the 60 people that spoke, and 6 of those spoke for 6 minutes, so you can do the math, just on the public testimony portion, 27 spoke in favor and 33 spoke against. And as with the last hearing, there are many supporters here today. Present in the room this afternoon, I want to thank them for coming. By a show of hands, if you are here today to support the project, would you please raise your hand? Out of respect for the process and your time, we know you have a full agenda. Few, if any, of these supporters plan to speak today on today's limited issues, but we did want you to know that support has not waned. We concur with staff, their report and their presentation. Nothing has changed with our physical application. There are no changes to the plans, but we do have supplemental information limited to the issues at hand to add to the record for your consideration. First, on the issue of wildfire assessment, we preserve this issue on judicial appeal. We further believe that the assessment was performed as required by the county and documented as Exhibit A, an attachment to a document that did make it into the record. But unfortunately, the attachment, the rating itself, was not included in the record forwarded to the court. And in that assessment, staff found that based on the very low risk of wildfire at the site, no further mitigation was required. Regardless, based on the court's ruling, staff, as they have explained, has since performed additional assessments in person under both the old and the new code provisions that govern wildfire risk assessment. As contained in their report, the property does not present a risk that would warrant any further action. However, in an abundance of caution and to provide you with the most information possible, Brandon commissioned an in-person, independent wildfire risk analysis. It was provided to you for review prior to the hearing, entered into the record, and reviewed by the county's wildfire expert, who I understand concurs with the findings. I believe staff can confirm that for you.
Dylan, if you want to just approach the microphone.
Dylan Williams, Wildfire Mitigation and Resilience Coordinator for Douglas County, and that's correct. We found no need for any further action for wildfire defense, and Fairfield Innovations just reaffirmed that finding.
Okay, thank you, Dylan. Let me pause there. Any questions for Dylan?
No questions.
Okay, thank you. Council?
The assessment was performed by Mr. Hugh Fairfield Smith, a highly respected wildfire mitigation expert. Mr. Fairfield Smith found that based on the site's low suppression difficulty, strong potential control features, and other factors, it poses, quote, little to no wildfire ignition potential or community threat associated with the Brandon facilities. Mr. Fairfield Smith performed an on-site analysis, concurs with staff's wildfire assessment, and is here to answer any questions for you that you may have regarding his study and findings. Mr. Smith, you want to just wave? Thank you.
Great.
Fencing. Turning now to fencing, while we respectfully disagree with the court's finding and have also preserved this issue for judicial appeal, we believe there is a simple way to comport with the court's order. The court starts from a premise that 50% of the fence within the setback must be 4 feet or lower, and then discusses a sliding scale to increase or decrease that percentage based on the length of fence. However, to avoid all doubt, Brandon has agreed or will agree to the condition to lower 100% of the fence within the setback, and that is the area that you see shown there in red, from 6 feet to 4 feet. The only question then is whether, when that portion of the fence is lowered, what I will call the 4-foot fence area, all lying within that 40-foot setback, will still meet the screening requirement under DCZR section 1416.01 for outdoor storage. And the answer is absolutely yes, and let me explain why. Section 1416.01 requires, and I'm going to quote the code for you, outdoor storage shall be screened from view from abutting properties and public streets or trails bordering the site by a solid fence, wall, or hedge that is a minimum of 6 feet high. Fortunately, we do not need to inquire further about the sufficiency of the screening in areas other than the 4-foot fence area, because plaintiffs challenged the sufficiency of the 6-foot perimeter fence and the landscaping in their lawsuit, and they lost on this issue. The court found that there was competent evidence in the record to support the board's conclusion that fencing and landscaping satisfy DCZR section 1416.01. So as you can see from this visual, the outdoor storage or materials, as you see here, are completely screened from the 4-foot fence area by a second solid 6-foot interior fence. And it's quite on the interior, so much so that someone asked me to label it, and I've done that for you. So again, this is the exterior fence that is within that setback area on the red, and the interior 6-foot fence screens the outdoor storage. Thus, the proposed condition meets the fencing and screening requirements as provided in the code and interpreted by the court. This concludes my presentation, Commissioners. We ask you to find that all of the approval criteria are satisfied, as you did August 2024, with the 2 issues, the outstanding issues identified by the court now having been addressed, and approve this application again. We do agree to all conditions, and in conclusion, appreciate your time and consideration, and we're happy to answer any questions that you have. We also look forward to the ability to clarify or rebut additional information presented.
Excellent. I'm going to open it up to the Board of County Commissioners. I will add, as an attorney myself, that was an excellent presentation. It's rare for us attorneys to be concise and clear, and you limited your analysis and advocacy to the specific questions quite well. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Questions from the Board of County Commissioners?
No questions. It was clear and clearly within scope.
Okay. I don't have any additional questions either. I will ask the applicant if you're okay with the 3 conditions as presented.
We are.
Okay, thank you very much. So with that, I'm going to open it up for any citizen comment, and I do have 7 citizens that have signed up to comment. If you want to go ahead and line up at the podium so that we're efficient with our time today, we're going to start with Jerry Brulette, then Megan St. Clair, Betty Herlecka, Pam Packer, and then Marla Gifford, if you want to all approach the podium, please. And we'll begin with Mr. Jerry, looks like Brulette. Welcome.
Welcome. Thanks for being here, you guys. Just to be clear, we can only talk about fire and fence.
Yes, we're asking you to limit your comments to the scope of our review today.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do you need to start the counter? Okay.
We're doing it.
Was this fire assessment done before or after the last wildfire we had in the area? That's something you can answer after I'm done. And I'd like to see just what screening means. The last time we were here, somebody mentioned that a screening is when you walk up to a 6-foot fence and you can still see it. It's in violation. Well, now we're talking about a 4-foot fence. And I just don't understand what screening means. I built quite a few homes in Red Hawk. Their screening procedure there was really complicated. We had to build, maybe up to 5 or 6 mature trees to build around a house so they weren't seen from several areas around town. Granted, that's Castle Rock and not Douglas County, but thanks for your time.
Thank you.
I wanted to say more, but since we're limited to those 2, that's where I'll stop.
Sir, thank you. We do appreciate your comments. Next, we'll move to Megan St. Clair. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Megan St. Clair. I live at 7761 Valley View Street, which is directly across the open space from Brandon's facility. Since we're limited, I'll say really quickly, as Ms. Elizade pointed out, Brandon's employees are all here today in support of the Brandon operation, and I would just like to also say that the neighbors, their support has not waned. Our opposition has not waned. We are all still in opposition, and you have an entire file to show you all of the ways in which Brandon cannot meet the 12 approval standards. But as we're just talking about screening today, or I'm going to just talk about screening, I just wanted to point out one thing about their renderings. So they have constructed an asphalt plant. It already exists. It's there. We can all see it. It exists. It doesn't look anything like the renderings. So then when we see these pictures up here of what fencing looks like or what trees look like, it's not reality. Nobody wants to wake up and look at that place. It is ginormous. It's a huge use of the land. It's ugly. And it's right in the middle of all these beautiful things you guys are doing. We have clean water. We're getting infrastructure. You guys provided this incredible fire helicopter this summer when our town almost burnt down. I mean, it's just, they can say all the things, and then you can just look at it. And it's just so out of place in our community. So just implore you once again, look at the whole file. There are plenty of reasons why you could not accept their approval standards.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate your comments. Next, we'll ask Betty Herlecka. Am I pronouncing your last name correctly?
Yes, Hrdlicka, Hrdlicka. I didn't realize you were talking about fencing and all this. Am I allowed to say what I have felt about this whole Brandon situation, or am I not allowed to do this?
Well, I want you to be able to use your time, ma'am. It is your time, but we want to confine your comments to the scope of our review today. We just have 2 limited issues before us, wildfire and fencing.
Right, I don't have wildfire fencing at all in on this. It's just how it affects me. I live at 8191 North Cora Street. I'm just Brandon is right there down the end of my block. And how it has affected me, my health, and how we are so worried about our community and our health. And we elect you to represent us, the people. Not money, not money. And this is what makes us so angry, is that the money is talking, and you're not talking and trying to help us. Yes, we're poor people. Yes, we don't have a lot, no. But still, we would like to have a healthy community, what time we have left. So please consider us and not the money. And there's a lot of other people out here that would like to speak and are here about how this affects Brandon. Brandon affects our lives. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate you being here. With that, we'll ask Ms. Pam Packer.
Commissioners, thank you. I'm Pam Packer, 6306 Airport Road, Sedalia. I live within about a half a mile of the plant. I also did not realize that we would not be able to speak on other items other than these two. I feel that's very unfortunate because there is so much else, but I will respect, the wishes of what this is. The only thing I would like to say, this outpouring of support from Brandon employees is completely irrelevant to fencing or fire mitigation. Levier's community is adamantly opposed to this asphalt plant, and we will never give up the fight. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. The final three individuals that have signed up, we have Marla Gifford, looks like Janet Silvestro, or James Silvestro, I'm sorry, and then finally Robert Holcard. If you want to approach. Welcome.
Hello. I am Marla Gifford, and I live in Leviers. And since we are limited to just these 2 points, I would just say this. We had a really, really excellent fire investigator report today, and I think that's all well and good. However, its logic dictates that any kind of an industrial endeavor anywhere, especially something to do with heat and asphalt and the creation of something like that, is a logically increased fire hazard. And we just went through this very scary time this last summer with it being so dry. One spark from that plant could burn our entire town down. So with regards to these 2 points, that would be all I would have to say. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time, Ms. Gifford. We appreciate it. James Silvestro, welcome.
Thank you, Commissioners. James Silvestro, Land Use Attorney with Ireland Stapleton, 1660 Lincoln Street in Denver. I'm here today on behalf of my clients, the Friends of DuPont Park and Open Space, as well as 9 individual homeowners. As the board is likely aware, we were opposed to the board and Brandon in the litigation. We are not adverse to the Board of County Commissioners today. We appear before you as your constituents, my clients, on behalf of them, your constituents, seeking a fair and impartial application of the county's land use rules. And the county made a mistake once before in approving this USR, and we're hopeful that the county will give us a fair hearing and not make that mistake again. Specifically, I want to address 4 points. Staff and the applicant and the county attorney respectfully have set this up as a quick fix. I think that is a misreading and a misinterpretation of the court's remand order. There was some language read from the remand order, and there was some paraphrasing. The court vacated the USR approval here and remanded the issue back to the board. The court did not remand the issue back on 2 specific issues. What you have here is a vacated USR. There is currently no approval for this applicant to move forward with this heavy industrial use at this site. If they want that approval, then they have to earn it from you. They need 2 votes showing that they've satisfied all 12 of the USR criteria. The board has changed. The composition of the board has changed since this was approved last summer, and we have new evidence and new information. Right now, we don't have a planning commission recommendation, which is a requirement under your code. We haven't had a neighborhood meeting on this changed application. We haven't had referral comments on this changed application. And just briefly, I would say the issue that has changed most significantly that has not gotten a fair shake is the screening issue. This proposal from Brandon was previously rejected by the Douglas County Court and affirmed by the Colorado Court of Appeals for their failure to adhere to the screening rules. They have now changed their screening plan, and they have not put in evidence sufficient to show that they have a fence or a hedge of up to 6 feet tall that will screen their outdoor storage. There's current day photos in the record today showing that if you stand on Airport Road, the adjacent public right-of-way, you can see their outdoor storage because a 4-foot fence will not screen this outdoor storage. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, counsel. We appreciate that. Our final individual who signed up for testimony is Robert Holland. I want to approach. Welcome.
Thank you, Commissioners. Robert Howard, Howard, 7843 Hillcrest Drive in Leviers. In addition to being a Leviers resident, I am the director of Friends of DuPont Park and Open Space. Mr. Silvestro is our attorney. I would like to add to his testimony that there are many other changes that have taken place since the August 2024 hearing. One is that Zebulon now exists. The traffic study on the record considers 0 of the 10,000 plus daily vehicle trips that will go back and forth on Airport Road and Waterton Road. The traffic study is out of date and no longer allows you to determine that this application meets the 7th approval standard. Additionally, the wildfire hazard assessments that have been submitted are either unsigned or have been submitted by people for whom there is no evidence on the record that they fit the very specific definition of a professional forester under Section 17 that requires education, specific university credentials. There's no evidence on the record that anyone with those credentials has visited the site. An on-site visit is required by Section 17, and the credentials are required. What we have today is an application that is still clearly insufficient to meet all of the approval standards, including the limited approval standards that you have scoped in today. I will add that the restriction that the board has placed on public comment today also is a violation of the DCZR process. You cannot limit the residents from speaking about the 12 approval standards when those are the approval standards that you must vote on today. I will close by saying that I don't think that going around in circles for another 7 years, that's how long this application has been in progress from Brannan. I know it's not good for Zebulon and Range. I know it's not good for Leviers. It's also not good for the folks here.
And sir, if you
who
can
raise
wrap
their
up your
hand.
comments, you're past time.
I'll be closing in one moment, please. The folks who raise their hand, they earn money from Brannan. We want Douglas County to be able to continue to do business with Brannan. A site that gets opened and closed by a
And sir,
judge.
you're past time. I'm going to ask you to go ahead and sit down. So
Thank
at
you.
this point, we are concluding citizen comment. Those are all of the individuals that have signed up. Ma'am, you are also in violation of our signage policy. I'm going to ask you to sit down as well.
Is it the sign on my shirt, sir?
Ma'am, you are out of order. And frankly, you personally, so our resolution prohibits signs, placards, banners, pins, and other display material. And
I'm
you
sorry,
personally
the
have been in
pins-
repeated
the
violation.
pins that the Brannan people are wearing
Ma'am,
is
you are
somehow
out of order.
okay for the
Okay, we are going to
sign
excuse ourselves
resolution?
once again so you can be
And,
removed.
I just want to say the fence issue. The fence issue does not take into account the air pollution that will blow from the Brennan asphalt. It will further pollute the air and make, I can see that. It'll further pollute and add to health issues in Douglas County. The predominant wind changes in Douglas County, and one of the ways it comes is from the west. So Castle Rock and all these communities will be affected by the fumes that come from the asphalt plant. The Brannan supporters, how many of you live in Douglas County? Please have our community in your best interest, not your pocketbook, because it hurts us. Thank you. You want to chase me? We're weeping in Douglas County for our representation
Back, everybody. Thanks so much for the opportunity to pause there for a moment. I will say, if you do have any other displays, if you're wearing the orange buttons, we're going to ask you to take those off. If you want to stay in the room, please. So moving on to, we're done with citizen comment. I'm going to ask for no disruptions, please. We're going to bring it back to the board for further discussion and or a motion.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. And having reviewed the approval criteria, and this is a judicial a matter before us today as remanded by the court on these two very specific topics. And on the two topics, even with the three conditions present, it does appear like The amendment does meet the approval criteria on those two very specific topics. We could open things up at a later date, or if there are further amendments to the property or property lines. But that is not for today. Today before us are these two very specific topics. It's including that fire plan in the overall plan, making sure that's in there, and then the fences. And with that, Mr. Chair, I move to.
Let me pause you. So before we do that, I would like to ask the applicant to come up and address any citizen comment, because we did receive a couple of questions and some comments. I don't want to forego the applicant's opportunity to respond. Council?
Thank you, Commissioner Layden. Sometimes I'm quicker to let those go, but we have pending litigation, and so today is essentially one big appeal. Thank you. First of all, the question was raised about whether or not the wildfire that was so near the site took place before or after the assessments were done. In fact, all three of them took place after, and those are the two that were done by the county and the one that was done by our independent professional. They were all performed after. A really interesting fact about the fire: our site was so safe during the fire that South Metro Fire District actually staged on our property. The point about all of the supporters in the room being employees, not only is it not true, it's insulting. There were a number of people who took out of their days to be here today, who are here because roads matter to them, infrastructure matters to them, property rights matter to them, and a host of other things that you heard extensive testimony on over the course of a 4.5-hour hearing, nearly 5-hour hearing, on the first portion of this hearing before we press pause to come back here today. So I do want to make that clear. They chose not to testify today, just to be mindful of your time in the agenda and their time, quite frankly. There was a comment made about how the pictures are not reality on the site. Staff certainly ensures conformance and that the plans as presented conform with the as-built on a site. There's a process, and a stringent one, to ensure that that is in fact not the case. The application, I do want to iterate, has not changed. This is not a changed application. There is a proposed condition to lower the fence, and we are accepting that condition. Other than that, this application is not changing, has not changed. It was mentioned that there was a court decision on the code provision. Mr. Silvestro actually pointed out that it had been litigated and that Brandon lost on this issue. That was prior to the code provision being changed. So this body actually changed that and a number of other code provisions, and that code provision in particular was challenged in the most recent lawsuit, and in fact the court did rule that it met the evidentiary requirement. With regards to traffic, plaintiffs raised traffic and traffic study with the court and lost on that issue. The court found that Brandon's traffic study provides competent evidence to support the board's conclusion that the USR complies with 210207. And further found, quote, although plaintiffs point out that D and E grades in the traffic study's 2040 estimates, there is competent evidence that the long-term impact complies with the design and construction standards. As for the impacts of new development or any specific development, the traffic study found by the court to be competent evidence is the result of science, engineering, and proven methodology. Traffic estimates project traffic impacts many years, often decades in advance, and consider long-term growth and growth rates precisely so that thoughtful planning can occur rather than isolated reaction to each development that comes along. Responding to the comment that that the fire assessment was not made by a properly credentialed person for the record. And just to enter this information into the record, Mr. Williams, would you mind just stating for your credentials for the record, please?
Thank you. Dylan Williams, Douglas County Wildfire Mitigation and Resilience Coordinator. Again, my education is from the University of Kentucky in natural resources with a focus in forestry. And I have been working in forestry for over 10 years now, including 4 years with the county.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
I would also just like to say that I have been out to this site multiple times, both before and after the fire that we had this summer, in review of the asphalt batch plant. Thank you.
Lastly, Mr. Silvestro made a comment in regards to you being able to see or through where the 4-foot fence area would be. There was also a letter that was submitted to the record. And for the purposes of record rebuttal and for the pending appeal, I would like to explain how that's wrong. So the letter asserts that the reduction in the fence height will lead to contravention with the screening requirement for outdoor storage. It purports to show a photo from this location identified, and I wish for the record that I had put page numbers on them. I did not. It is the Friends of DuPont View locator map that is signaled with a green triangle. In fact, that analysis is made, and I'll show in just a minute how we can show that that photo was actually taken from a location where the 6-foot fence will be located, not the 4-foot fence. In fact, this location, there will actually be a 6-foot fence, solid board fence, which will come to the top of the red line there in the middle, not a 4-foot fence as shown by a horizontal red line down below. You'll see also the additional interior solid fence as we had discussed, which provides screening. The next slide, which starts with the word telltales, and I'm not reading all of this to you. I just need to make sure that this is read into the record, and then I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Starting with this slide, you'll see that there are a number of factors that point out how the photo was not taken from where it purported to be taken. And lastly, the photo with the 2 triangles shows where the actual vantage of the photo was taken. And from that vantage, you could see, but that is in fact a 6-foot fence, not a 4-foot fence at this point. And if I may, if you would indulge me, we have with us our appellate attorney because this matter is pending before the Colorado Court of Appeals. So if I could consult with Mr. Kyriagis for just a moment of Otten Johnson. Could I have just a moment, please?
Please.
Thank you. In conclusion, again, we would ask for your approval. We would ask and implore you, however, to note that that approval is in fact approval of all 12 of the criterion as outlined, and that, that this application, per your review of the previous record, in addition to the information presented today, meets those criterion. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to pause on that because that's significant to me. So we were talking about standard of review, and I'm concerned that we limited the scope, both citizen testimony and our analysis, to 2 issues. What I'm hearing you say is it's really all 12 approval criteria and a totality of the circumstances.
So it is, I want to be careful about how I answer this. The hearing information that's already been presented, it's again as if you press pause, right? So if you've already testified in a hearing, arguably you've already testified in a hearing. If you have, you heard that information, or you've reviewed that information in the record that was all presented in the prior hearing. This, when remanded, the court specifically cited and expected that many of those issues, if not all of those issues, would be the same issues. It stated so in the order. However, your vote today does incorporate the information that you heard during the first hearing.
Understood. Council, anything additional on that?
No, it's not unusual for when a court remands to give direction, and we're following direction in this matter.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Anything additional from the applicant?
No, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. So with that, I'm going to bring it back to the board for any further discussion and/or a motion.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. And kind of continue upon my previous thoughts, most going through and have been going through this entire time. The approval criteria, you know, most of them don't apply to us today. There's no changes in the assessment based on much of the criteria. The one area where it really does apply to us today is really 2102-01. And specific to that issue, and it is specific to that issue because it does seem as if the community and this property owner are at odds, and they are almost looking for a battle, but that battle that is being sought is not before us today. The issue before us today, and again, a judicial capacity, is simply including that fire assessment in the packet, and also the proposed fencing. And as proposed fencing within the airport road setback does seem to comply with the fencing standards of section 1415-02, and the other site landscaping and fencing adequately screens outdoor storage areas adjacent to the proposed 4-foot tall fence per section 1416.01, I see a little option before us today but to approve, and therefore, Mr. Chair, I move to approve the use by special review for Owens Industrial Park, Filing 1, First Amendment, Lot 1A, that meets and bounds parcel, Third Amendment, because it does meet all the approved criteria with 3 conditions presented. Project file US 2021-02.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Teal, do we have a second?
Yeah, I concur with Commissioner Van Winkle's assessment and comments, and second.
Okay. So we have a first and second on the floor. Any further discussion? You know, it's compelling to me. First and foremost, thank you to everyone that has joined us today. You are not paid to be here. You're here because you're interested in our community and in our county and in your local jurisdiction. And so it's meaningful to us that you're here. And as we always say, we work for you, not the other way around. We are confined to the legal criteria before us. I was really compelled by one of the citizens who testified about all of the things that are happening in and around Leviers. And whether it's the new biochar facility, the water wastewater treatment, and all of the efforts that we're working on collaboratively to improve this community and help serve all of the county, it is deeply significant. I don't want to diverge too much from the standard of review or what we're discussing today, but based upon the limited scope that we are confined to, what Dylan shared with us is our wildfire expert. He serves on our Wildfire Action Collaborative and is a consummate member of our leadership team here at the county. I do believe and am convinced that the wildfire issue has been adequately addressed based upon the approval criteria. With the fencing, I think what's also compelling to me is that based upon the renderings, and the information provided both from comment and from counsel for the applicant, it appears that the legal approval that we're required to look at with regard to fencing has been met. So I'm confined in my response to that legal approval criteria, and based upon what's been presented from an evidentiary standpoint, I am convinced that that has been met. So I'm going to agree with my colleagues, ask for any further discussion.
Commissioner, may
Yes.
I interject for just
Please.
a moment? I just want to make sure that I'm giving quality legal advice on this. When I referenced earlier that the record from the prior hearings on this be included in this, I want to make sure that all three members understand that, and that all three members have had a chance to review the entirety of the information, so that although the court has given us direction, the board has had the opportunity to see the full breadth of the information and make their determination on that today.
Okay. And then just for the record, I'll confirm that I have received that, and I'll ask my colleagues to confirm the same.
Confirmed.
Okay, and I received a yes from both of my commissioner colleagues. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that does pass unanimously. With that, we're going to take a brief 5-minute recess for the room to clear. If you guys want to stay, you're welcome to do so. Otherwise, we're going to move on to our next item in about 5 minutes. Welcome back, everyone. We're going to resume our public hearing with item D, which is our resolution summarizing revenues and expenditures and adopting a budget for the County of Douglas for the fiscal year beginning on the first day of January 2026 and ending on the last day of December 2026. Martha Marshall presenting for staff.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Martha Marshall for Budget Staff. I have a short presentation this afternoon, so before we'll get into the resolutions. How's that sound?
Sounds fine.
So the budget is before you this afternoon, and it's a culmination of many hours dedicated by staff throughout the county. And so we've had a lot of work sessions with the board, so I'd like to thank you very much for your participation in this process. So I will get going with our presentation here. The budget development process is a long one. It begins in May. Budget preps and opens the budget module for departments to start reallocating their budgets and preparing new budget requests for next year. Through the summer, departments are finalizing their submissions. During this time, budget is forecasting revenues, and we're also working with departments to ensure that the other components of the budget, like the utilities and fleet expenses, insurance, comp and benefit, all of those are forecasted for next year. The board prioritizes the lights on expenditures and makes sure that these are covered first before we add any new initiatives or fund any new requests. The lights on also includes the salary and benefits for existing positions. In September, we now have a good idea of what's available for new requests or initiatives and can start refining the prioritization of new requests to develop the preliminary budget that we present in October. So in September, we begin meeting with the board on a regular basis. And so by the time we reach today, by the time we reach adoption, we've spent a lot of time together. So I appreciate once again, all your commitment. So we have two statutory deadlines we must meet. First is that October 15th deadline when we go ahead and present that preliminary budget. The second is the December 15th deadline, which we have to adopt by that. So this year we are definitely meeting both of those requirements. The board's policy manual provides the county manager with guidance for the development of the county's annual budget. The 2026 proposed budget, based on the county manager's interpretation, is compliant with all 13 criteria in Management Limitations 3.3, which is financial planning and budget. Some of the key components I'd like to call attention to is the budget does not deviate materially from the board's priorities. It does not risk financial jeopardy, and it relies on 2- and 5-year forecasts. The budget provides adequate disclosure of revenue and expenditure assumptions. It maintains adequate reserves per county policy, and it adheres to state and county fiscal laws and policies too. The 2026 proposed budget is $650.8 million. The operating portion of the budget is $294.7 million. This represents a 4.5% increase, or $12.7 million over the 2025 budget. We gauge our growth based on the state Tabor calculation, which is population growth plus CPI. For this year, that equals 4.7, so we are under that growth factor. The budget for one-time initiatives is $250.8 million. 77%, or almost $194 million, is related to transportation, like roads, maintenance, congestion type things. Another 12%, or about 30 million, is parks and open space related. Also included in the budget is $61.2 million of expenditures funded by state and federal sources. This budget does not have any new positions, and actually we are eliminating 8.5 positions in this budget. The county has no debt. This budget does not include any new taxes or fees, and all funds are balanced and meet all statutory and county policy requirements. I would like to go into a little bit more detail on some of the initiatives that are included in the 2026 budget. Senate Bill 24-002 makes it possible for counties to incentivize child care providers by providing a property tax rebate. The incentive will rebate up to 75% of the county's portion of property taxes for all commercial and in-home child care providers, an additional 25% for those that provide, and then there's an additional 25% for those that provide care for infants and toddlers. So there's an opportunity for 100% rebate on, again, the county's portion of property taxes. Next, the county is expanding its free Link-on-Demand microtransit service. Building on the program's success in Lone Tree, the commissioners have approved $3 million in 2025 to expand the service into Highlands Ranch. And the 2026 proposed budget includes an additional $3 million to support further expansion east into Parker and south into Castle Rock. Next, the county is planning the development of Zebulon, a regional sports complex envisioned as a hub for youth and adult sports and a potential site for national competitions. At this time, $5 million has been appropriated from the parks allocation of the Parks and Open Space Sales and Use Tax Fund, and this will be used for site utilities and grading. The county is currently engaged in the contractor selection process. Following this selection, detailed design and features will be formalized. The county's total projected contribution towards the overall project cost is expected to be $60 to $80 million, which will also come from the parks portion of the Parks and Open Space Sales and Use Tax Fund. Though, I must say, the total project costs depend on securing private equity partners. Next, I'd like to talk about the kind of regional recreational expansion. The county is making an investment of $29.8 million across 5 park developments to expand recreational opportunities in the county. The parks included our High Note Regional Park in Lone Tree, Salisbury Regional Park in Parker, the Gold Crown Fieldhouse in Castle Rock, Prospect Village Park in Sterling Ranch, and McCanter Regional Park in unincorporated Douglas County. The funding is drawing from the Parks and Open Space Sales and Use Tax Fund also. Now, the parks allocation supports the urban parks in Lone Tree, Castle Rock, Parker, and Sterling Ranch, which are focused on a programmed recreation plan. And then the Open Space Acquisition and Trails allocation supports the McCanter Regional Park, which is focused on a passive recreation and trail development. Now, these projects will increase recreational amenities throughout the county by adding 4 lighted baseball and soccer fields, 4 lighted multi-purpose fields, 2 gymnasiums with basketball, volleyball, and pickleball, a competitive-sized swimming pool, 2 playgrounds, outdoor basketball and volleyball courts, 6 miles of multi-use soft surface trail, and 6 miles of single-track trails. Next, I'd like to talk about the Wildlife Resilience Initiative. The county is boasting, a little bit. The county is boosting its Wildlife Resilience Initiative through a couple of private property mitigation emergency response capabilities and supporting infrastructure. So it's really a three-pronged approach. So the first prong is that wildfire mitigation cost-sharing program, which provides 50% matching funds to residents and communities to create that defensible space, and is growing from $500,000 from this year to a proposed $750,000 in 2026. Second component to this is the county is investing $1.5 million in a year-round fire response system featuring the contracted Rapid Response Type 2 firefighting helicopter, as well as Douglas County's highly trained HeliTAC team and AI-powered wildfire detection technology to ensure faster, smarter actions in high-risk areas. And we know we have some of those around the county. And then finally, the initiative there's an initiative that will bring a climate-controlled HeliTAC hangar for $4.5 million, which will house the contracted helicopter and the team and serve as part of a regional joint public safety training complex. It's kind of a mouthful, thank you. So next, the county has allocated developmental disabilities mill levy funds to support the development of additional affordable housing opportunities for individuals with intellectual developmental disabilities. The commissioners in 2025, they invested $3 million for the construction of a biochar facility in Douglas County. The facility will allow for trees and limbs, I've been dying to say this word, that woody biomass removed by the public removed from public and private lands, and this is often for wildfire mitigation effects. But anyway, that will be used to be converted into biochar, and then ultimately this operation will be one component of a larger public works waste diversion and recycling center. And lastly, the county's 2026 technology strategy aims to enhance efficiency, effectiveness across the county through funding requests of $6.25 million. The funding is specifically allocated kind of in three main areas. One is the WorkSmart, the ERP, the Enterprise Resource Planning Modernization Project that is underway right now. The second is the countywide IT projects that they do pretty much annually. And then the third component of that is the AI initiative that is underway right now. So I did want to make sure that we talk about the board's guiding principles, because these are important in the development of the budget. The board's fiscal conservative principles include avoiding raising fees and taxes, relying on realistic revenue forecasts, maintaining stable reserves, improving the quality of services provided to our community, budget for 1 year, manage for 2, and forecast for 5, and make sure that we're matching ongoing revenues with ongoing expenditures. And this slide shows how the 2026 proposed budget aligns with the board's priorities. The board's core priorities are the foundation of the development of the budget. These priorities, along with input from the public, inform the decisions in this budget. The budget book contains all new requests and projects with explanations and is available online for anybody who is interested in seeing those. I also must say it includes detailed descriptions of all one-time initiatives as well as increases in operating. So that's my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Wonderful presentation, Martha. Thank you for that. Any questions from the board?
No, I would say I appreciate Martha and the extensive amount of time she's given me over the last several weeks, in particular as a new commissioner with my first budget. So thank you for that time.
Great. We have had a lot of meetings and a lot of discussion this year, so I don't have any questions either, and we'll open it up for any citizen comment. Is there any citizen comment in the room with regard to this item? Welcome. If you want to just state your name and where you're from for the record, please.
Tiffany Milburn and Roxborough,
Thank you.
homeowner in Roxborough. Hello, Commissioners. My name is Tiffany, and I'm speaking today on behalf of many residents of Roxborough, Sterling Ranch, and the surrounding area who are deeply concerned about how the Zebulon property is being handled in this county budget. Let me begin with 3 critical facts. Fact 1, many areas of this land are contaminated. According to the county's own site investigation conducted in August 2024, a toxic forever chemical was found at concentrations up to 100 times above EPA cleanup levels. The same report also found lead, asbestos, and other hazardous materials above safe residential thresholds. The report also states additional testing is necessary to determine the extent of soil contamination and to design any remedial action. Fact 2, the land is legally restricted under CDPHE. Many areas fall under a notice of environmental use restrictions, which legally restrict how the land can be used without strict protocol. There's also arsenic that was found on the land, according to this report. Some areas are explicitly restricted from being used for parks, schools, playgrounds, or other uses that could expose children to contamination. Fact 3, parts of the site are undergoing remediation right now. Just last week, I was informed by CDPHE that 2 contaminated zones are now undergoing state-approved cleanup. If this land was truly clean, as has been publicly suggested, this wouldn't be necessary. This tells us 2 things. In order for proper cleanup, Zebulon's true cost is much higher than what's currently being budgeted, and if the land is not fully cleaned up, then we will not only bear the financial burden, but also the potential health consequences for our children and the surrounding community. These significant taxpayer burdens are being decided without a public vote. We as the residents have had no say in whether we want our money spent on remediating contaminated land for a sports complex our children are expected to use. So my ask is this: if this is truly the land the county is insisting on using, then at the very least, we ask all
And
funding
ma'am,
be
your time has
paused.
expired. If you can
I'm
wrap
going to
up.
finish this request. A full remediation plan is finalized and made public. An independent environmental and legal review is conducted, and the community is given a clear cost breakdown of what it will take to fully comply with state-mandated safety regulations. This is not anti-growth. This is about health,
Ma'am, your time has
safety,
expired. I'm going to
transparency,
ask
and
you to sit
responsible
down if you
fiscal
can.
management.
Thank you. I'll ask for additional citizen comment. Any additional citizen comment? Welcome, sir.
It's very deceptive.
Good afternoon. Jim Wattenberger from Douglas County. And a couple questions in regards to some of the dollar figures that were stated earlier. The helicopter hangar, other organizations' use will be who?
And sir, if you want to direct your comments to us, we'll follow up after
And
citizen comment.
The dollar amount for IDD disabilities and the dollar amount for the biochar facility. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Additional citizen comment? Okay, seeing none in the room, any citizen comment online?
Thank you, Commissioner. I have no online comment.
Okay, thank you, Troy. So with that, I'll close citizen comment. I'll bring it back to staff to respond to any citizen comment. Martha or Doug?
So I can go ahead and tell you how much the IDD will be. So that's $850,000 for 2026. And biochar is the $3 million right now that the board approved in 2026. We will be continuing later in the year, probably with the operations side of that.
Great, thank you, Martha. Anything else from staff? Okay, bringing it back to the board for any further discussion and/or motion.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. I think we do need to respond because that was incredibly deceptive testimony. The land that was referenced there is not the land that we were building on. The land we were building on has a very clean bill of health. The EPA, CDPHE, Jared Polis's CDPHE, an independent, the land is insured, and to get the insurance, an independent third party environmental study had to be done. That was not from a conservative group. It wasn't from anyone here in Douglas County. So the land that we are building on, or planning to build on for Zebulon, is 100% clean. And we have, okay, I'm not really sure beyond EPA, CDPHE, and independent, what you would like us to do to prove to you besides walk out there. I'm not even sure the last time folks have been out there. But the land that we are specifically looking at for Zebulon is clean.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any additional Commissioner comments?
Yeah, I mean, we went through that full study of the entire DuPont property. And there are areas that are containment areas, but it's not where we're planning on Zebulon. We're moving between those areas in order to do that development. So I get it. I mean, you're probably looking at the entire Superfund report. And by the way, it is a completed Superfund site. And I don't know about, I mean, maybe that's an age thing. Maybe I have to, you got to be old enough to remember Love Canal, you got to be old enough to remember 3 Mile Island, and the fact that Superfund sites were the equivalent of, like, you know, a death sentence. But the reality is, no, this is a completed Superfund site. It's been an industrial area of the county for over 100 years, and actually we're remediating, with the remediation that has been done, we're repurposing that entire area to be a place of recreation. And no, the place we're building in Zebulon, it's cleared for our use that we want to do it. We've heard the testimony here in this room already. So I appreciate that people want to find a reason to be against it. That's cool. That's part of the process. We can all put up with that. But it would always be good. I guess, again, we always appreciate hearing from the public. We just wish their comments were truthful.
Thank you so much for that. So, you know, I'll just add, Martha, phenomenal job. And budget staff working out this entire year. Our county manager, who's been with us for over 3 decades, started out in budget, so I know there's always a very keen eye with regard to everything we do. I step back and look at, you know, the work that is going into the only county heli-tac team in the entire state. And I think back to what happened over the summer when we had to evacuate the entire town of Leviers. And at first we were told, well, the state has a helicopter. We don't need one of those. And you have a lot of kooky critics out there that think we don't need to have fire suppression and fire mitigation. But I'm glad we didn't listen. It's not the critic that counts, it's the man in the arena, as Teddy Roosevelt would say. And we had our helicopter out there so that people didn't die. That town was evacuated, properties were saved, animals were saved. And now with this approval, assuming we do approve it, the opportunity to make sure that all of our county citizens are protected. That helps home values, that helps property insurance. People can't get homeowners insurance right now, businesses can't get insurance. Well, that may change because the underwriting standards have to be consistent with practices within a particular municipality, and this does change those actuarial and underwriting standards. So this may improve the ability for people to get property insurance. We're now north of 50 fires that heli-tac team has put out, many of which have been outside of the county that no one will ever hear about, and each one of them could have been catastrophic. So I commend my colleagues, you're my brothers in arms, and your commitment to public safety and keeping people protected in their homes is just tremendous. No other county is doing this. I hope more do, but right now it's just us. So I'm really pleased to see that. All of the other projects are incredibly exciting. The massive support for Zebulon, all the kids that are being encouraged and supported by what's happening out there. It is a thrilling opportunity that's going to bring back $1.34 billion back to the economy, full stop. So, ma'am, you're actually out of order. And if you disrupt the meeting one more time, I'm going to ask you to, okay, we're going to step out. We're going to ask you to step out.
The reports show that the...
Don't argue. We're going to step out.
You need to control yourself.
Ma'am, you're out of order.
Yeah, I would have my kids play there.
I would have my kids play there.
Resume our meeting. Apologize for the disruptions. We'll remind the public that this is a place where we conduct public business, and those that disrupt can be submitted to criminal charges for disrupting a public meeting based on statute. We'll ask that you continue to be respectful and professional in this hearing room. Bringing it back to the board for discussion.
I'm prepared to begin motions on our resolutions, Chair, if the board is prepared as well.
Commissioner?
Yeah.
I am as well. Commissioner Teal?
Well, if it pleases the board, I do have a motion to approve a resolution summarizing revenues and expenditures and adopting a budget for the County of Douglas for the fiscal year beginning on the first day of January 2026 and ending on the last day of December 2026.
And I will second that motion. It is a budget, and back to the topic at hand, which is the budget before us, that I think all of Douglas County can be very proud of. No new fee increases, operating under the spirit of Tabor, which is staying within population growth and inflation. Huge investments into transportation, huge investments into public safety, things that other counties don't do, like school resource officers to keep our kids safe and our teachers safe in school. No new FTEs, and in fact, we're reducing our overall county staff levels by a handful. Getting more efficient with government, not less efficient. Cutting red tape. We have efforts to cut more red tape so that when the public does interact with their government, they have less hoops to go through. And I could go on and on, especially the fires, the saving of Louviers this year by that helicopter that, again, many said was just absolutely not necessary, and yet it saved one of our key communities here in Douglas County. So I could go on and on, but a lot to be proud of here, and proud to second the motion for next year's budget.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any additional comment?
Well, just to double down on Commissioner Van Winkle's comments, Martha, I don't suppose I could trouble you to pull back up your slides, and specifically, can you give us the pie chart of budget priorities, please? When I look at this, I see that our two biggest priorities are transportation and public safety. And now we know that we have areas of our state who would not agree with this priority, these priorities. They would say, we should be, going out and hugging trees and giving up driving automobiles, and we should be defunding our police because they're just victimizing the citizens and yada, yada, yada. But I think for the citizens of Douglas County, they can look at this pie chart and see that we are very much staying within our lane. We are providing transportation services so people can get around, commerce can occur, and people can live here. And then, of course, we're investing in public safety. And a couple of notable things were noted by Director Marshall. But the bottom line is, I think this is the budget priorities that the people of Douglas County elected us to enact. And for the naysayers out there for specific items, I don't think they can argue with these priorities. Or if they were to, I believe they would find plenty of argument from their neighbors. I speak in favor of the motion.
Great. I agree with my colleagues and have certainly already shared the areas in which we are so proud that the county is working to serve the nearly 400,000 we represent. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
And that passes unanimously. Is there another motion?
And I believe there are a couple of these in a row that all kind of fall under budget here. So let's see, make sure I'm on the right one here. Yes, I move to approve a resolution appropriating funds for the County of Douglas, Colorado for the fiscal year 2026.
Second.
So we have a first and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that motion carries.
If it pleases the board, I do have a motion to approve a resolution levying general property taxes for the year 2025 to help defray the costs of government for the County of Douglas, Colorado for the 2026 fiscal year.
I'll second the motion, and I think it's an important point to make that the average citizen in Douglas County will see a 5% decrease in their property taxes next year over this year.
That's a great point. So we have a first and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that carries.
And I move to approve a resolution summarizing revenues and expenditures and adopting a budget for the Douglas County Law Enforcement Authority for the fiscal year beginning the first day of January 2026, ending the last day of December 2026.
I will second.
So we have a first and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
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 Aye, and that passes unanimously.
Please, the board, I do have a motion to approve a resolution appropriating funds for the Douglas County Law Enforcement Authority for the fiscal year 2026.
Second.
We have a first and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that carries 3-0.
And I thought oh, I see. This is a separate one. A motion to approve a resolution levying general property taxes for the year 2025 to help defray costs of government for the Douglas County Law Enforcement Authority for the 2026 fiscal year.
Second.
We have a first and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that carries unanimously. Okay, so we've received motions for all of the items through I. The next land use meeting and public hearing will be held on Tuesday, December 16th, 2025 at 2:30 p.m. I'm going to adjourn, and we're going to pick up with the Lincoln Station Local Improvement District here in a minute. Something new every day.
Yes, sir. It's all included, so we're just going to keep going.
Oh, good. Okay, fantastic. Okay, well, I'm going to call to order the Woodmore Mountain General Improvement District for Tuesday, December 9th, 2025. We have already done the Pledge of Allegiance. I'll ask the attorney if we have certification of the agenda.
You do, sir. The county attorney's office has reviewed all items on the agenda, and you have appropriate jurisdiction over these matters.
Great. And do any commissioners have disclosures for items on this agenda?
No, sir.
No.
And I have none either. With that, I'll move on to item 2, the consent agenda, and ask if there's a motion for approval of the minutes from September 23rd, 2025.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I move to approve the request in item A of the consent agenda, which is simply the minutes of the last meeting.
Second.
Great. So we have a first and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that is approved 3-0. Moving on to our regular agenda, item 3A is a resolution summarizing revenues and expenditures and adopting a budget for the Douglas County Woodmore Mountain General Improvement District for the fiscal year beginning on the first day of January 2026 and ending on the last day of December 2026. Once again, Martha Marshall presenting for staff. And Martha, is it your intent to present A, B, and C together?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Woodmore Mountain General Improvement District is a separate district, and so we need to do the same thing that we just did for the county we need to do that for Woodmore Mountain also.
Well,
I
please
have
go
no
ahead.
presenta-
Is
I
there
have
anything
no
else? You
presentation.
don't have a presentation,
No,
okay.
that was included pretty much. There- it's
That was
included
everything that
in
you wanted
the
to
other.
say? Okay, Martha, thank you so much for that. I'm sorry, I was patiently waiting for this staff presentation. Some detail about Woodmore Mountain District that we had not heard, so. Okay, with that, I'll ask the board if there are any questions of Martha with regard to the Woodmore Mountain General Improvement District.
No questions.
Okay, I don't have any either. I will open it up for any citizen comment. Is there any citizen comment with regard to any item on the regular agenda for the Woodmore Mountain General Improvement District, either in the room or online?
Commissioner, I have no online comment.
Okay, thank you, Troy. So with that, I'll close citizen comment and bring it back to the board for any further discussion or all three motions taken up collectively.
Prior to introducing a motion for the budgeting of the Woodmore Mountain General Improvement District Chair, I would ask that the board consider in the new year an analysis of the Woodmore Mountain General Improvement District and perhaps what can be done to turn over governance to that locally. I know our staff has done some work. I think, again, we have a longstanding policy on this board of local control of local areas and to fully turn over governance and budgetary budgetary governance to the local improvement district, I think is something that should be explored in more detail in the new year and allow the citizens and residents of Woodmore Mountain to have a voice in those proceedings.
I would agree with that, Commissioner. Is there anything specific or additional you wanted to add?
I think at this time, if the board does not object, perhaps the county manager would take that as direction for scheduling going into the new year, for us to do an analysis, take a look as the budget has been done, but not only just the budgeting of the Woodmore Mountain District, but is that something that really should be a role of the Board of County Commissioners, or is that something that can be devolved to the residents of Woodmore Mountain?
Right, or maybe administrative review. I wouldn't disagree with that at all. Commissioner Van Winkle, are you opposed to that direction?
Not at all. In fact, I support it wholeheartedly. I know it's connected very closely with the homeowners association there, and it is a relatively small special district specifically for those few homeowners, and not sure it's a matter of countywide governance.
I agree, so we'll ask the county manager to take that up as board direction. Are there any motions related to the Woodmore Mountain District?
Yes, Chair, if it pleases the board, I do have a motion to approve a resolution summarizing revenues and expenditures and adopting a budget for the Douglas County Woodmore Mountain General Improvement District for the fiscal year beginning on first day of January 2026 and ending on the last day of December 2026.
Second.
We have first and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that motion carries unanimously.
And also a motion to approve a resolution appropriating funds for the Douglas County Woodmore Mountain General Improvement District for the fiscal year 2026.
Second.
We have a first and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that carries unanimously.
And again, Chair, if it pleases the board, I do have a motion to approve a resolution levying general property taxes for the year 2025 to help defray costs for the Douglas County Woodmore Mountain General Improvement District for the 2026 fiscal year.
Second.
So we have a first and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
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 Aye, and that motion carries unanimously as well. With that, I'm going to adjourn the Woodmore Mountain General Improvement District and move on to the Lincoln Station Local Improvement District numbers 07-01. I'm going to go ahead and call that meeting to order. We have done the Pledge of Allegiance. Attorney Garcia, do we have certification of that agenda?
You do. The county attorney's office has reviewed all items on that agenda. You have appropriate jurisdiction over these matters.
Thank you, counsel. Do commissioners have any disclosures for items on this agenda?
No, sir.
No.
I have none either. Under item 2 is our consent agenda. I will accept a motion for approval of minutes from December 10th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Great. So we have a first and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that motion carries. Moving on to our regular agenda, item 3A is a resolution summarizing revenues and expenditures and adopting a budget for the Douglas County Local Improvement District number 07-01, Lincoln Station, for the fiscal year beginning on the first day of January 2026 and ending the last day of December 2026. We also have a resolution appropriating funds for the Douglas County Local Improvement District number 07-01, Lincoln Station, for the fiscal year 2026. Again, I believe Martha has already provided the presentation. Anything additional to add?
Nope. Lincoln Station Local Improvement District is a sales tax funded district, and so this you'll only see a budget adoption and appropriation, no mill levies.
Okay. I might echo Commissioner Teal's comment. I think it was salient with regard to Woodmore. Unless there's opposition, we might direct staff to take a look at that for administrative or local approval as well. Any opposition to that?
Actually,
No opposition.
Mr. Chair, actually, in this case, since it is a sales tax funded and it's visited, anyone traveling on RTD, anyone using those bars, restaurants, the hair salon there, there's a lot of people from across Douglas County that spend their hard-earned tax dollars there. So I think we should explore it in the overall spirit of returning local government to local, but because it's a sales tax right in the heart of Lone Tree, paid by lots of people from around the county, maybe we think twice about this one as opposed to one closely associated with the Homeowners Association and those homeowners governing themselves.
I think that's well taken, and if staff can research accordingly and maybe provide us with some options, I think that's a well-taken comment, Commissioner. With that, returning back to our regular agenda, we do have 2 potential motions if the board is prepared. I will ask for any citizen comment with regard to either of these items, either in person or online.
Thank you, Commissioner. I have no online comment.
Okay, thank you, Troy. So with that, I'll close citizen comment and bring it back to the board for further discussion or a motion.
Please the board, I do have a motion to approve a resolution summarizing revenues and expenditures and adopting a budget for the Douglas County Local Improvement District number 07-01, Lincoln Station, for the fiscal year beginning on the first day of January 2026 and ending the last day of December 2026.
Second.
Great. So we have a first and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that motion carries.
And Mr. Chair, I move to approve a resolution appropriating funds for the Douglas County Local Improvement District number 07-01, Lincoln Station, for the fiscal year 2026.
Second.
Great. So we have a first and second on the floor. Any further discussion there? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that carries unanimously. With that, I want to thank and congratulate my colleagues as well as county staff for all of that wonderful work with the budget. We are adjourned.
Yay.